morning! Welcome po sa satuyang programang I Love You Sabado sa radyo natin 89.5 FM. Nadadalan po kita ngunyan sa radyo natin 89.5 Naga Facebook page, as in sa www.imjinteractive.net, as in syempre, nadadangog sa indong mga radyo sa 89.5 FM. Ngunyan pong aldaw, sarong espesyal na episode ang igwa kita. Sa tuwing 9th episode, may makakaibahan kitang individual na mataw sa tuya ning inspirasyon kung paano, how to make it big as a Bicolano and as a Filipino. Duman pa lang sa word na big, aram na nindo kung sayang makakaibahan ta asin uya sa satuyang background ngunyan. So, I don't want to keep it long. Gusto ko nang i-introduce ang satuyang guest, Sir Carlo Buenoflor of Bigs.
Antoinette, my pleasure to be here, but please don't call me sir, just call me Carlo.
Okay.
I'm happy to be here.
Actually, it's difficult for me not to call you sir po because you deserve it. But since you requested, okay,
please,
Carlo.
thank you, Antoinette.
Thank you for this time you have given us. Siguro po, since we're here at Kepasa, can you give us an idea how this started? And kasi alam po natin that through Bigs yung kilala dito sa sa Bicolandia. Not just in Naga City, in the entire Bicol region, and even when you go to Manila, iki-crave mo yung Bigs. But since we're here, can you give us an idea po how Kepasa started? What inspired you to start this business, Sir Carlo?
Okay, sure. Well, quickly about Kepasa. So Kepasa was a hobby, right? It was a pet project by the owners, and we're mestizos. Our partners are mestizos from Partido and from Manila, and we have Spanish roots. And I'm also the honorary consul of Spain for Bicol. So we thought back in 2016, I think it was, to just come up with a restaurant, right, that kind of plays on that heritage, right, that maybe celebrates that heritage of being a former colony, right? So we opened this restaurant as a tribute to that, and it's a place to just have fun, right?
Yeah,
as you can tell, our bread and butter, our main business or our core business is really Bigs, and it still is Bigs. This is just a hobby.
Yeah, it's actually a very beautiful place. Parang it's refreshing when you come here. Actually, medyo nag-fast forward tayo
Correct,
sa questioning ko, Sir Carlo. Siguro ang question ko ngayon, how are you po? This pandemic, kumusta yung negosyo ngayon? Bigs, Kepasa, even your other businesses if
Yes,
you have.
yes.
Kumusta po yung...
Yeah. Well, it's been tough on everyone, especially for the food industry and the hospitality industry, the service industry, or just the retail industry in general, right? That includes the fashion brands, the businesses that you see in the mall. It's really been very hard, and that's obvious, right? Because we don't see people going out anymore as they used to. But we're lucky, Antoinette, because we are an established brand, and we have been around for 48 years already, going on, 38 years. I am 48. The business is 38.
So you were 10 years old.
I was there. You guessed it. So I was only 10 years old.
Sir.
Very good. I have to be careful. So 10 years old lang po ako when Big started by it was started by my mother and two other partners. Tatlo po silang best friends.
Right.
No? Nagkasosyo po sila dito sa Naga. They had several businesses, but all those businesses failed until they decided, hey, let's put up a small restaurant or a takeout counter. This was back in 1983, as you can compute, no? It was back in 1983 when they wanted to open a small takeout shack, right? Serving hamburgers, hot dog, wala pang fried chicken. It was just hamburgers. May taco pa nga kami, right? So the usual American fare. And of course we know the rest of the history, right? We were able to replicate. It was a very successful business venture, and then we expanded from a takeout counter into a full restaurant, and then we opened another outlet and another outlet. So it just grew from there. But I don't know if everybody knows this, but we did not start as Bigs. We started out as Mang Donald's, right?
Yeah.
And as you can guess, right, we wanted to poke fun or kind of have fun with we know who, right? And that was the year a year after that big brand that we're talking about opened in the Philippines. So it was a big thing, right?
Back
People
then,
knew about it.
There
Yeah.
was no the business na
Ginaya namin.
yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't here in the Philippines
Wala.
yet.
Well, nandito sila. They came into the Philippines in
But not yet
1982.
in Bicol.
Not yet in Bicol, and not until the 90s, right? Not till after 10 years or so, right? And so people were curious about this fast food, this concept
Right.
of burgers and fries. So the friends, they were just barkadas. They said, "Hey, let's put up the same thing in Naga, but let's have fun with the name." Right?
There's
And
a
that-
pun.
And there's a pun, right? So they decided to call it McDonald's.
Right.
But Antoinette, the story goes is this is how the story kind of develops, right? Late in the 80s, syempre, yung malaking brand, napansin niya yung success nung McDonald's, and they got threatened. So they decided to send us it's a letter that is calling for our cessation of our business, or it's a cease and desist letter
Right.
to stop our business.
It's all over the news back
So,
then.
yes, it
Yeah.
was all over the news, and it kind of gave us some publicity, right? And so the owners at that time, I was maybe in my early teens, they decided to just drop the name, drop McDonald's, and they were in a conundrum, right? What now to change the name to? And it just so happens that the three ladies all have boys or sons with the same name. So I'm Carlo Buenaflor. The other partner has a son named Juan Carlos Manhon, and the other one has another son also with the same name, Juan Carlos. So Carlo, Carlos, Carlo. So they decided to name McDonald's, change it into Carl's,
Okay.
right? So in the 1990s, early 1990s, McDonald's was transformed or was converted into Carl's Diner. That was the first time they kind of took on the theme of a diner, right? With Carl's Diner. So, ganun na naman, right? Carl's Diner, new name. But, this is the twist to the story. Not so long after, another international brand with the same name, from
Carl's.
the US, Carl's Jr. I don't know if you've heard of Carl's Jr. Entered the Philippines. They didn't stay very long, right? They're not in Manila anymore. They're not in the Philippines anymore. But they came in at the same time, and the owners did not think of registering the name, right, in the patent office, in the IPO, right? And of course, being threatened by another possible lawsuit, they just decided, you know what? Let's just finally change the name once and for all into a name na walang kapareho. Diba? Talagang wala kang makikitang kaparehong pangalan anywhere else in the world. So they arrived at the name Biggs.
Right.
Why Biggs?
Why, sir?
That's a big question, right? The big question. Because at the time, the way we positioned ourselves compared to the other fast food chains is that we served everything in bigger portions. Bigger fried chicken,
That's
just
true up until today.
up until today,
Yeah.
we're the biggest. If
Right.
you compare all the fried chickens across all the different fast food brands, you'll see
Hindi
that
tinipid talaga.
are hindi tipid, right? We charge for it, right? But you get more than what you pay for. And that was what made us stand out, right? Parang we stood out being always serving everything big. Restaurants were nicer. The service was just a lot friendlier. So parang better and bigger than the competition, right? We couldn't naman call ourselves better,
Right.
So parang the only way we could describe us, right, was big.
But why the double G?
That's a good question. So we wanted to make it appear like it's there's a man or there's a personality behind the brand, like a Mr. Biggs, right? So parang kanya to. Si Mr. Biggs decided to an American because as you can see, no, the concept of Biggs is Western, right? Serving your hamburgers, ribs, fried chicken, they're all Western products. So we wanted to make it appear like there was a personality behind the brand named Biggs.
Not just the word,
Right.
but
Not
there's
just
a
the word.
person behind the...
Parang you're eating, you're saying, who came up with all these recipes? Oh, maybe there's this guy,
Big.
American, Biggs. So big guy, creating these wonderful Western dishes, big portions, American portions. So that's just how it came out, right? So it was a surname. Kunyari, yeah.
Basing upon your story, sir, the problem that you had only was the name.
Yeah.
When it comes to the support that you get from people, kumbaga, napapatronize siya.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
There's a
of
support
course.
you get from people,
Yeah.
but the only problem was the name.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
How was it, nung nagsisimula po yung
Converting.
Bigs, how was the, kailan nyo nasabi na, okay, this is gonna last, this business is okay, this is good, this is
Yeah.
gonna last?
Yeah, that's a good question. And even, to add to that, right? I mean, changing the name of a business is hard enough, right? And to add to that, it was during the time when all the international fast food brands were all coming into to Naga.
It's a very big competition.
Correct. So that was the same time that Jollibee, I'll name them already, no?
Oh, go.
Jollibee came into Naga, McDonald's came into Naga, Shakey's was already here, and I think not so long after KFC came in. So, all the not all, but most of the big brands were starting to come in, and that was the time we changed our name. So it was a very uncertain time for the brand, right? But I think because we were first here, and we were able to already develop a loyal patronage, right? A very strong customer base, parang hindi nawala. Parang when they opened, syempre on the first day of the opening of the competition, medyo affected yung sales, no? Pero soon after, parang we were able to gain back our customers, and not even that, just even stronger. Parang up to this day, our brand remains strong and continues to get stronger, despite all the international brands or national brands that are around us.
Yeah.
So I think we were able to create a very, very strong
Something that you will
customer
crave.
base.
It's like a comfort food kasi, sir.
Yeah.
For a Bicolano, I'm an avid customer.
Okay, thank you.
Even if
Thank you,
I
Antoinette.
crave for other food, when it comes to Bigs, it's something that you will crave when you're like stressed out or you're tired. You will crave for it. So I believe that's the reason why kahit may mga different restaurants na here, you will still crave for Bigs, and you would parang part na siya ng iyong mga favorites.
Yeah.
Right, sir? So you have shared with us yung story, the struggles, how this started, yung mga struggles in the beginning. But now we are facing a pandemic, sir.
Yeah.
Is it a different scenario all over again, or was it the same, the struggle, or different jungle kung matatawag natin?
It is.
Sir Carlo.
I think you used the right word, jungle, right? Kasi like in a jungle, you really don't know where you're going.
Right.
Right? So everything is so uncertain. You don't know which direction to take. And I think that's not just on us, no? We're not the only ones finding ourselves confused, no? On where to take the business, take the company during these times. It's really, really uncertain. But just like back in the 90s when we were faced with new competition, when we were faced in a changing external environment, because we were not the only restaurant anymore,
you're not prepared.
right? And we were not prepared. We are so lucky. I think we are so fortunate that we continue to keep a very, very strong customer base, right? Na kahit pandemic, okay, may delivery naman kasi, di ba? People can't go out, they can't dine in the stores. This was last year, di ba? Right now, we already get people coming to the stores, but last year, it was really mostly delivery, right? And we were lucky that kami pa rin yung top of mind. Meaning, if you want comfort food, like you said, no food that you grew up with, that's different from the competition, your top of mind or the first thing that you think of is Bigs.
Yeah.
Bigs. So,
Number one, kailang may atsara, sir.
kami lang,
Oh my God. Very
that's so unique,
Filipino.
right?
Oh my God.
It's so unique. So we're really a hometown favorite. I don't know if you saw the post of our vice president,
Yeah.
right? Where she said that
When she comes home, it's the first restaurant, or it's the first restaurant that she visits, and the food that she eats, Bigs, galing Bigs.
So I think that's how a lot of people feel. And we have worked very, very hard. And yes, as I told you, we've been around for 38 years. And we have spent all that time to really solidify ourselves, or to really create a strong foundation for the brand. so that we stay relevant, right? Kasi it's easy to get lost. It's easy for people to forget you, right? So the struggle to stay relevant is very, very hard. Quality products, maintaining quality products, maintaining restaurants that look good, where customers get their value for their money, right? A pleasing experience, good customer service, consistent quality products every time. That's not easy, Antoinette. The restaurant business is, whew, just thinking about it, it's one of the hardest.
Right. As they say, it's easy to start, but it's difficult to sustain.
Oh, wow, boy,
Right.
that's an understatement. I think difficult is an understatement. It takes a big organization of very dedicated and talented people, right, to keep this machine running, right? Day in, day out. I mean, it's really a battalion of dedicated and passionate people, right? So my gratitude to all the people in Bigs that are able to keep Bigs where it is.
Right. It's it's a community effort. It's no man is an island, ano po?
Absolutely.
You have already, kumbaga, na-set nyo na talaga ang Bigs, malaking establishment, we crave for it. Kasi yung business po, di ba, it's difficult na, kumbaga, ipatronize ng mga tao yung negosyo ninyo, but you have already done that. In fact, it's already part of our favorites. Pag sinabi mong Bigs, lalo kung Bicolano ka, it's something that we crave for. Kumbaga, hindi na nga kailangan ng advertisements. Pero, are there still things that you wish to improve? Or are there still a lot for us to look forward to in the coming months, weeks?
Sure. That's a good question, Antoinette. And I think the greatest challenge of any brand, right, is relevance. Because a lot of brands, they fade away because they're not able to keep up with the times.
Right.
Because the trends, they change. The fads, the trends, they're constantly shifting and changing and evolving. So what was cool or a hit 5 years ago or even 3 years ago is not anymore cool or a hit right now, right? So, or faddish right now. So the challenge for a brand as old as us, right, a 30-year-old brand, close to 40 years, is how do we remain relevant to the young market, right? I can understand that maybe your parents, right? My parents, especially because this is something that was started by the generation of my parents, right? So I can understand that in that generation, the brand is very strong, and we probably will be strong for that market, until that market disappears, right?
Right.
But for the younger market, meaning my children, right? They did not grow up with Bigs, right? So they're being introduced to Bigs, some of them for the first time, or they have so many choices right now. They go to the mall and all these new brands are just popping up, diba, left and right. Kadakol brands, right? Kadakol mga new concepts, new ideas that are popping up left and right. So in that sea or jungle, right? How do you stay relevant? Now, that's a challenge. So of course, what we try to do is we try to maintain a very dynamic and young marketing team, right? And because even me, I'm not usually up to date, right, with the current fads, the current trends.
Right.
I've tried to create a TikTok account, but hanggang dun lang.
Can't keep up.
Ay, hanggang dun lang. I open the account and I forget to check it again, right? It's still Facebook, right? So how can I connect to that market, right? If I myself is not a person that is updated, right? So the key really is being relevant and having people around you, right, who are well connected with that market, right? And for one example with what we've done, I don't know if you've noticed our K-Dog line, our Korean hot dog.
Right.
Right?
I actually noticed.
Yeah. So,
but I haven't tried yet. I should.
Okay. For lunch, you're gonna have it, right? I'll make sure that you try it. But that's an example of a product that tries to make our brand relevant, right? We all know that Korean, whatever that's Korean, Korean novela, K-pop, right? It's in, right? All the big brands are riding on.
Pala, sir.
Even the trends.
Dapat adaptable.
Oh yeah, right? So we decided, one of our team members in marketing said, let's try to take advantage, exploit the Korean trend, right? And then we came up with the K-Dog, right? And surprisingly, well, maybe not surprisingly, it really caught on. It became a very, very popular product, right? And so, you know, kids are talking about it. People are talking about our brand only because we have products that they can relate to.
Right.
Right. So it's important to have products that the market can relate to. So that's the continuous challenge of any brand, is try to keep up with the trends, with whatever it is that the market resonates with.
That's something that business owners can draw inspiration from. Kumbaga, even yung mga nagsistart pa lang ng business, you have to be adaptable. Especially now, we're facing a pandemic, Carlo. Actually, that's the next question I'm going to ask. It's very inspiring that what you are still to do in the future. Kumbaga, it doesn't stop there. For Bigs, it doesn't stop there. It's already big as it is, but the improvement goes on and on and on. Pero itong pandemic po, does this affect you? Diba? Marami kayong improvements in mind, pero naka-apekto ba ito for you to parang take a pause, take a break?
You said the word pause, right? So we had big plans to open more stores, some in Metro Manila. And when the pandemic, started, right? When it happened, we just had to hit the pause button, right? Pause lang. But we're not used to not doing anything, right? We're not used to not doing anything. So we said, okay,
big.
We're big and we're just creative, right? And we're just built that way. We're built to move forward.
Exactly.
We're built to progress. So I have a very, very passionate COO, right? He's the one that really runs the day-to-day operations of Bigs. So his name is Emil. And so, we were discussing on what to do. We can't open stores anymore, right? There are no customers in the store, in the restaurants. So what do? We just sit down and wait for this thing to blow over, right? Hindi, di ba? Dapat may meron pa rin tayong mga gimmick, may mga producto that we will introduce that innovative, that are relevant to what's happening, or what that appropriate to what's happening. So we introduced a frozen line of Bigs that we call Ready to Cook. So it's called Bigs Ready to Cook. So what we did was we came up with a frozen version of our best sellers, our baby back ribs, our hamburger patties. We also have bacon. We have cordon bleu. And so we came up with a line of frozen Bigs products, and now, which is something that you can find in popular groceries. So have you? Okay, so we had to innovate. We had to be able to come up with something that keeps us again relevant and accessible. If I can't go to the restaurant of Bigs, what can I do? Now, when you go to the grocery, you'll see, there's Bigs ribs, right? That I can still enjoy at home, even if I can't go to the restaurant. Other than that, the team, led by Emil, came up with a new brand called Nanay's Favorites. Now, Nanay's Favorite is a brand of frozen products, right, for the mass market, right? So you will see it being distributed in and around Naga.
That's the one that I've tried. The sisig.
The sisig, exactly.
I've tried that one.
So sisig, we have many variants, right? Many variants. And it's something that we thought that will continue, right? And we see that there's a market for it, and there's again, it's a business that is untapped, that we didn't realize that there's potential, and those are the little things that we're doing while the pause button is pressed, right? But we also have delivery, right? So while we had a pause button, we were very aggressive with delivery. I'm sure you've noticed our promos that are very aggressive, that actually is so aggressive that we're giving away or selling products at 50% off, right, at certain periods of the day, right? Because we want that segment of our business to move.
Pero na-affect po ba nun yung your profit?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what, we had to make a decision, right? We, as you can imagine, for a company like Bigs, we're over 500 employees, right, in the commissary. in the stores, in the main office, which includes accounting, human resources. So how do we make sure that all these people, right, still have livelihood, right? In the last, how long has it been, Antoinette, since we started
2 years.
lockdown? Almost 2 years,
Almost 2
right?
years.
So, and so how do we make sure that everybody still continues to receive a salary, right? So, sabi namin, even if the company doesn't really make money, as long as we are able to generate sales,
And as
right?
long as, nandito pa din yung business,
Correct.
right?
Nandito pa rin, to keep the brand alive,
Right.
and enough sales to maintain the expenses, meaning to maintain the salaries of all the employees. Even at the end of the day, walang kita. That's not our priority right now. Our priority is to maintain livelihood, is to maintain employees, make sure they're still salaried, right? That's it. That's the priority right now, is to survive and make sure that we're able to keep our employees and pay our employees. That's the priority right now, while we're paused.
That's very beautiful, Sir Carl. Actually, one of the reasons, one of the purpose of this interview is to inspire, empower people. It's okay if you take a pause. It's okay if medyo hindi ninyo nagawa yung plano, right, Sir Carlo?
Correct.
Even bigs, nangyari pala yun sa inyo. But the important thing is, laban lang, continue, push forward, move forward pa rin tayo. That's what I have learned sa sinabi mo, Sir Carlo. And also, you should take into consideration the people that is depending on the business. Kumbaga, hindi pang sarili.
Correct.
You think about the people na nakasalalay yung buhay dito sa negosyong ito. Now, Sir Carlo, that's a very, marami na tayong natutunan pagdating sa negosyo, sa big, sa kipasa. But I have read through your Facebook account about this very interesting and very, very beautiful advocacy and project, the Fleet of Hope. Can you walk us through how it started, how it's going, what inspired you, what motivated you to start this advocacy or program, Sir Carlo?
Antoinette, thanks for noticing that, right? Because it's a project that's obviously very close to my heart. And of course, we all know that Bicol is the disaster capital, or the typhoon capital of the Philippines, right? We get more disasters, including Mayon volcano.
Right.
Statistically, we get more calamities than any other area in the Philippines, right? Between
May earthquake na din tayo.
Exactly,
Diba po?
right?
Grabe.
So may earthquake, dagdagan mo pa ng earthquake, right? So we really need all the help that we can get, no? But this didn't start last year. Fleet of Hope started in 2006. And that was the year when I moved my family to Bicol. I grew up in Bicol, Antoinette. I spent my elementary years here in Naga Parochial School. I graduated from there, but then for high school, I had to move to Manila. And then I met my wife in Filipina. I met her in the States. And then we moved back here to the Philippines and then to Bicol so that I can run bigs. This is 2006. But then when she moved here, on that same year, a very strong typhoon struck Bicol, right? By the name of Reming.
Right.
Reming was a very terrifying typhoon, very strong typhoon, the first typhoon experience of my wife. And so after the destruction, we were moved by what we had seen, right? The destruction and what it had done to the coastal communities and just everywhere in Bicol. So at that time, we were moved to come up with a project to help rebuild livelihoods, right? To rebuild lives. And so we thought of bangkas, because usually in a typhoon, the most affected communities are the coastal communities.
Right.
And they're the poorest people.
Exactly.
The poorest communities are the coastal folks. And so we said, okay, let's try to raise funds. And lucky enough, this was before Facebook, before Instagram, before social media, before all of that, right? So we were able to raise 1 million pesos, and we were able to build, I think, about 30 bangkas, right? 30 bangkas at that time, and we were able to give them out, right? So, and after that, the project had died down, no? Parang we didn't do it again. Parang okay, that was just 1 year, we were able to help, and we didn't do it again. We got busy with our, the businesses, with having I have 5 children, I have 5 kids, right? So we had 2 kids when we moved to Bicol, and then we added 3 more, right? So as you can imagine, we got busy, right? And we're also the distributor of Havaianas, the brand Havaianas for Southern Luzon, not just for Bicol, but Southern Luzon.
Very busy.
Yeah, we got busy. But then, okay, so let's fast forward to last year, okay? And so we were already experiencing the worst year of our generation, right? We've never experienced anything like this,
Exactly.
right? And on top of that, to cap the year,
There were 3
tatlong typhoon, di ba? Tatlo, sunod-sunod, right? It was Quinta, Rolly,
Quinta,
and
and
Ulysses, right? Sunod-sunod, like 1 week apart.
Ang walang pahinga.
Walang pahinga. I was in Manila. I was in Manila, and I had seen all this happen, and my parents were here. They're in our farm in Bula. And sabi ko, wow, we have to do something about this. So initially, relief efforts muna, right? Relief goods, right? So I came down very soon after the last typhoon. We went to Tiwi, we went to Tabaco, we went to
The ones hardly hit na po.
hardly hit the first one sa
Yeah.
Gulf of Lagonoy Gulf. And Antoinette, what I saw really will make anybody cry, right? It just was so sad, and it really again touched my very core, no? Touched me at my very core, and I said, I have to do something about this. Hindi pwedeng relief distribution or relief goods distribution.
Exactly.
It's so temporary. I have to be able to do something that's more impactful, right?
Yeah.
More significant.
And something that's gonna last. Ano po?
That's the
Yeah.
thing, right? Not just a quick
That they
fix.
can finish for like a day or a week.
That's it. And then that's it. And then they just wait for the next relief goods to arrive, right? Parang naghihintay lang sila ng relief goods. Hindi naman pwede yun. So I had the ambitious plan of raising 100 bangkas, right? At 50,000 pesos per bangka, because I wanted a bigger bangka with a motor, because that way they can actually go further, right, and fish and get more fish,
Right.
So if you multiply, and you're good at math, right?
I'm just
So
kidding.
it's
I was just kidding.
no, nako, you have to compute that, Antoinette. So 50,000 pesos, 100 bangkas. Nag-compute na.
IMJ will do the
Me also. It took me a while to do the math for that. So 5 million pesos. So to raise 5 million pesos during the pandemic, to ask people to donate $1,000 or 50,000 pesos per bangka during the pandemic was kind of a tall order. Parang hirap naman to approach people and ask them, hey, can I ask for 50,000 pesos for the typhoon victims
Right.
of Bicol? But Antoinette, right, lo and behold, ang nangyari is at the end of the whole project, I was able to raise enough to build 154 bangkas.
more than the target.
More than the target. So that's about 7.750 million pesos. Right? So we were able to distribute bangkas in different locations along the coast of the Gulf of Lagonoy. So iba-ibang area yan. Right? And until today,
Right.
until
There
today,
are partnerships with different organizations I saw.
correct. We can't do it alone. And that's one thing
Right.
I learned, Antoinette, is that you cannot really do anything on your own.
Exactly.
So the success, a big part of the success of the whole endeavor, with the whole project, was partnering. So we partnered with a group called APAD, right, which stands for Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management. And then we also partnered with the employees of WWF, right? We all know WWF,
Yes.
not the Wrestling Federation, the Worldwide Fund.
The one with the panda.
World Wildlife Fund. And so the employees who are based in Tabaco, in Lagonoy area, they helped us identify beneficiaries.
Okay.
Kasi yun yung mahirap eh. Kasi you have the donors, you have the bangkas,
You don't know
kayo na may
kung
bibigay.
kanino i-donate. Oo.
Right? So ang maganda naman sa kanila is they already partnered with a federation that was already able to identify fishermen na may mga bangkas na, pero they were completely destroyed by the typhoon.
Okay.
Right? So it's just replacing their bangkas. Because you don't want to add, because you want to prevent overfishing. You don't want to have too many bangkas in the Gulf of Lagonoy. Right? So you want to control the numbers. And so we were just replacing the destroyed bangkas. Right? So we were able to help 154 fishermen, right? But the number of bangkas destroyed by the 3 typhoons is 1,000. Completely destroyed. So we're still a long way to go
Okay.
from reaching or from replacing all those that were destroyed.
That's why it's an ongoing effort.
It's
Ano po?
it's an ongoing effort.
I also saw that you partnered with GCash. Now, the question I'm going to ask po, Sir Carlo, I'm sorry if I can call you Carlo.
Please.
Oh,
Please.
You deserve to be called sir. But anyway,
Good, yes.
the question that I'm going to ask po, to those who are watching who might want to help,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of people there who have good hearts,
Yeah.
good hearts, who would want to help. How can we help, Sir Carlo?
Well, you mentioned that you visited our Facebook
Right.
site, right?
Mhm.
And then that's how you found out about our projects, or even my own Facebook page. Visit our Instagram and Facebook's pages, and it's easy. Just look for Fleet of Hope, and you will find all the information you need to be able to help. Or look for me on Facebook, Carlo Buenaflor. Reach out to me, send me a personal message, and let me know if you'd like to help, right? But Antoinette, thank you. I didn't expect you to help me, look for donors, but it's a continuing effort,
Yeah,
right?
It's a very beautiful project, Sir
Thank
Carlo.
you,
Especially
thank you.
now that it's November.
Yes.
We are expecting it's the typhoon month. It's the start of
Let's pray.
typhoon months. Actually,
Yeah.
it's from November to December.
Correct.
So
Correct.
let's help. Please, let's help.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you
Sir
very much.
Carlo, for the time that you have given us to walk us through the Fleet of Hope. Inspired all the business owners out there, not just the business owners, but everyone. It's okay to take a pause. Laban lang. Let's move forward. Sir Carlo, at this point, I'd like to ask you, you have Kepasa, you have Bigs, and all your other endeavors. How can we, is there anything na may kailangan ka po bang i-promote? How can we order from Bigs? What are the websites maybe, or the applications that we can visit, Sir Carlo?
Yeah, thank you, Antoinette. In Bicol, fortunately, we are available. Our Biggs products, the one I mentioned to you, the frozen Biggs products, are available in a lot of the supermarkets, SM and LCC. And we also have our Nanay's favorites, right? That are frozen products from our commissary. And really, again, I'd like to maybe stress on the fact that these projects, these businesses, were conceived because we wanted to keep our employees. It's very notable for me to mention, not to you, that our commissary hires the most PWDs of any food manufacturing facility, right? We have a lot of PWDs.
That's beautiful.
We've been featured for that, and so we were able to keep them employed during the pandemic. And just a side story lang I wanted to share. Our restaurants are all open right now. We just opened SM Daet, right? And next year we will be opening in SM Sorsogon. So we continue to grow. In fact, we are slated to open 5 more stores next year. So we're going to continue our expansion next year. We have already those stores lined up, and we're fortunate that we're still growing. We're fortunate that we're still around. We're still not out of the jungle or the woods, right? We're still there. We're still. It's not yet back to normalcy. We're not yet back to how things were in 2019. We continue to struggle. Right. I like what you said about laban lang, because that's really at the end of the day, that should be your mantra.
Yeah.
After a hard day of trying to stay afloat, trying to stay alive, really the only thing you can do is just move forward and fight. And if you patronize Bigs, thank you very much. We strive to maintain our quality standards and to always deliver the very best to our customers, and meet your expectations of very high standards. And by doing so, if you patronize us, you're able to help livelihoods. You're able to help a company that employs so many people, right? And we've strived very hard to keep that, to maintain all those employees even through the worst times. So thank you very much for the continued patronage of Bigs. I'm very, very appreciative, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to thank the public, right? Because we're a Bicolano brand. We will be a Bicolano brand for a very, very long time, and there's no more Bicolano than Bigs.
Meron ka po ba, Sir Carlong, last message, mga paiwan na mensahe sa mga nanonood sa atin ngayon, especially now, we're facing a pandemic, we're nearing elections 2022. Any message for everyone watching?
Well, okay, there are 2 things there, Antoinette. First, my message to people, about I guess how can we how can we make sure that we get through this pandemic, right? And you said a very important thing of just keeping an optimistic mindset, right? We're gonna get over this. This thing will blow over. The vaccination program is very aggressive. We expect to be, I think, 80% vaccinated by mid-year next year. So which means that we will see a level of normalcy, right? That is almost the same as 2019. So I'm very hopeful for that. Don't be scared. I mean, go out, right? Especially if you're vaccinated, I think it's safe to go out right now. Bring your children out. I think the biggest victims of this pandemic are the children.
That's right.
If you remember, I have
5.
I have 5 children in the Philippines. I have 1 child in the US. So I have 6 children, right? So but my kids who are very young were the ones that were most affected by this. So bring them out. Bring them to the malls. Eat at Bigs or don't eat at Bigs, but bring them out, right? And I hope that
But of course, follow health protocols, right?
Of course, while following the strict health protocols, social distancing, but but the mental health of our kids are hanging in a balance here, right? It's hanging in a balance, and we need to make sure that we're able to make them feel normal, try to bring normalcy back into their lives, right? Okay, and another thing you mentioned is some elections next year. I don't think I can officially endorse anybody, right? But let's just all make the wisest decision that we can make. What's for the best of our country. Let's be informed. I think that's the most important part. And you have programs like this, like what you do, Antoinette, right? That informs the public. And let's just try to be as informed as we can about our choices for next year. I'm very hopeful and optimistic that things will be vibrant again. I think the economists are predicting 2023 for the year where things really come back to where it was, and I hope that it comes back sooner. But I remain optimistic for this country, no matter what happens. Right? We've gone through the worst in the past 40 years, 30 years, right? And we're still here. The Philippine economy is driven by the private sector. Even with the boo-boos of the government, right, from one administration to another, we still remain to be a strong economy and a growing economy because of the private sector. It's actually the private sector that has really led the development of the country, with the malls, with exports and imports. It's really the private sector. So it's companies like Bigs that lead the development in the countryside. So thank you for your time. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to explain all this. I'm very impressed with you. I'm so nervous because I'm talking to a professional, a broadcaster, interviewer. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Sir Carlo, for the time na binigay mo po sa amin.
Thank you.
Hindi lang namin natutunan about Bigs, about the business side, pero actually sa pagiging father and your advocacies, it's very, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir
Thank you,
Carlo.
Antoinette. Thank you.
Yan po ang pakikipag-olay ta kay Sir Carlo Buenaflor kan Bigs Diner. As in kay Pasa, as in ang Fleet of Hope. Yan po ang pakikipag-olay ta kay Sir Carlo. Nakapagtao sa tuya ning inspirasyon na kung paano magiging, sabi ko nga ni Subago, how to make it big as a Filipino and also as a Bicolano. Kadakol po kitang nanodan. As a businessman, kaipuhan ta din po magtabang sa kapwa, kaipuhan tang isipon si mga buhay na nakasalalay sa tuya. Lugod po nakataong inspirasyon ang programa tangon yan sa Indo, ang kang I Love You Sabado.